Kayla, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about my experience being blind and searching for a job with a master's degree and tell you guys about my new job because my job search was successful. So a little while back, I did like a little mini series on being legally blind and looking for a job and just talked about the challenges that I personally experienced and that the blind and visually impaired community experiences while looking for employment, and also some discrimination that I have faced in my job searching in the past. So I will link those videos, and I was planning on, once I graduated with my master's degree, doing another kind of series on being blind and looking for a job and just documenting in real time the challenges I was facing or how my interviews were going, any discrimination, things like that. But very fortunately, that process was very short because I did get offered a job only 11 days after graduating with my master's degree, which is really wonderful. I was not expecting it at all. I was kind of expecting a very long and grueling process, as it has been for me in the past. But I am so thankful that it was not like that. It was very quick and painless. But I did face some challenges that I do want to share with you guys. So first, I'm going to start off on a happy note and talk to you guys about my new job, just kind of tell you what I'll be doing, and then talk about my job search process and a couple of challenges that I encountered. So for those of you who don't know, I have my master's degree in social work, and I just got hired as a crisis counselor. So I'm going to be doing crisis counseling with individuals who are suicidal as well as victims of domestic violence. So I'm really excited because those are two populations that I'm very passionate about helping, and I'm just really excited to be doing very meaningful work. Also, I'm working 100% from home, so I'm doing my counseling sessions through telephone or video, and staff meetings and things like that are all through Zoom. So that's really good because working from home is just a lot safer now because of the pandemic, and it also eliminates the barrier of transportation since I'm not able to drive. However, I wouldn't typically want to work from home. Before COVID, long before, people always said, you need to get a job working from home so you don't have to worry about transportation. And I always said, I don't want to work from home. I spend enough time at home as it is. I want to get out of the house. I want to be around people. And so normally I wouldn't want a job working from home, even though it is a lot easier because I don't have to deal with transportation. It's just not ideal because I don't like being stuck in the house. But like I said, because of the pandemic, just kind of is safer to be stuck in the house right now. So I think it's really good for the time being. So yeah, that's my new job. That's what I will be doing. I'm really excited, just excited to be working, to be productive, to be helping people. And it's a really great position. I'm so excited to be working with this population that I'm very passionate about helping. And so yeah, I'm just really excited. I know I've said that 1,000 times. I'm also so grateful for finding a really great job in such a short amount of time. Like I said, 11 days after graduation is so crazy to me, and I am very fortunate. I know I'm lucky because, trust me, I have struggled with looking for employment in the past for a very long time, and I know how hard that can be, and so I do not take this lightly. I know how lucky I am. However, my job search, though brief, was not without its challenges, so I do want to talk about those and shed some light on that. First of all, I was really dreading the job search process just because I know from my experience in the past that it was really hard. I really struggled. Some of my lowest points in my life have been when I was looking for a job because I just felt so defeated. And so I was really dreading it. I was hoping that I would get hired on at my internship, where I was doing counseling at a sexual assault and domestic violence center. And I loved what I was doing there. I loved my job. I loved the agency. I loved the people that I worked for. And I so badly wanted to get hired on there because of that, and because I really didn't want to have to get out there and look for jobs. Unfortunately, they weren't hiring. There was not a position open. So even though my supervisor really wanted to keep me on, they just couldn't. But it's still, it's good for my self-esteem to know that they did want me. They just couldn't hire me because there wasn't a position. So then I was on the job hunt. And one of the first challenges that I want to bring up is that a lot of job applications have a question on them that is voluntary self-identification of disability. It asks, do you have a disability? Yes, no, or decline to answer. And here's the problem with that is I don't want to mark, yes, I have a disability on the job application because I don't want to lead with that. I want them to have the chance to see my resume, to meet me, to see my qualifications before they see that I have a disability. I don't want to lead with that right off the bat, right on the application. But I also don't want to mark no, because that's a flat out lie. I do have a disability, so no is just a lie, and that's not something that I'm comfortable with. And then the third option, decline to answer, I feel like if you mark that, it's just a red flag that you do have a disability, because I don't know that any non-disabled person would mark decline to answer instead of just marking no. And so I feel like that's a red flag that just says, I do have a disability, but I just don't want to tell you. And it's a really tricky spot to be in because none of those options are ideal. I really don't like that that's a question on applications because it does put us with a disability in a very tricky spot of not knowing which way to answer. So let me know down in the comments your guys' thoughts on this. What do you do? What do you put on the job application? How do you feel about this? If you're someone who receives job applications, like you're involved in the hiring process, let me know what you think when those come across your desk and how you perceive it if somebody checks decline to answer, because I'm really interested to know. Next thing, on a similar note, is that a lot of job applications ask you if you have a driver's license. Do you have a driver's license? Yes or no? And I don't like this question either because, again, if I mark yes, that is a flat out lie. I do not have a driver's license. I've never had a driver's license. Never will I ever have a driver's license. And so if I mark yes, that is just 100% a lie. But if I mark no, again, I feel like that is a red flag because they don't know I'm marking no that I can't drive because I have a vision impairment, nor do I want them to know that I have a vision impairment on the application. But I think a lot of times people assume if you don't have a driver's license that you've done something bad to get it revoked, or that you just don't have your life together. And I think people perceive that as quite a negative thing if you don't have a license. And this question is on a lot of job applications that do not require driving as part of the job. And again, I feel like this shouldn't be a question on the job application because it puts us in a really tricky spot of having to answer it when it's really not even necessary. So again, let me know down in the comments what you think about this. How do you handle it? Do you mark yes or no? What do you do? Please tell me. So the next challenge is how I am really limited in the jobs that I am even able to apply for. So transportation is probably one of my biggest barriers. So I live in a suburb of a pretty big city. That's about 30 miles away, and that's where all the jobs are. There are so many jobs there, but I just can't work there because it's not financially practical for me to take an Uber back and forth 30 miles every day, 5 days a week. I just can't afford to do that. I would spend my entire salary on just going to work. Also, public transportation where I'm at is essentially non-existent, so that is not an option either. And it's just really frustrating because I see so many jobs that I will read the job description and I think I would love to do that, or I would be so good at that, but I can't do that job because I can't get there. There are also a lot of jobs in my field that require transportation as part of the job. So you're maybe meeting clients at their home or somewhere out in the community, or you're transporting clients or something like that where, driving is part of the job. And then those jobs are out too. Then there are a handful of jobs that require sight as part of the job. Maybe it requires really close monitoring or observations or something like that. And, it's an essential function of the job. And so if that's a really big part of the job, then I can't do that. So it leaves me pretty limited in even what I'm able to apply for. But, I did find some things to apply for. And actually, I applied for jobs at 3 agencies. And I had interviews with all 3 agencies, which is the best luck I have ever had with job search. So the first interview that I had was at a psychiatric hospital, which is pretty close to where I live. I've kind of had my eye on it for a while, thinking that I would really like to work there. So I was so excited that I had an interview, and I was thinking what if I get this and I get the very first job that I interview, or even the very first job that I applied for right out of grad school? That would be so cool. And I was just really excited. So I went to my interview. I think it went really well. The lady I was interviewing with said that I had a very impressive resume, which is always good to hear. And she actually broached the subject of my disability. So, I go to the interview with my cane, so it's obvious that I'm blind. But before I got a chance to bring it up, which I usually do, she actually brought it up and asked me, how I would handle certain concerns in regard to safety. She asked me how I used a computer. We had a very candid conversation about disability and just kind of what I bring to the table. I mentioned that, they have a physical rehabilitation unit, and I talked about how I'm pretty knowledgeable about how a person's disability can impact their mental health and how that's something that I'm really passionate about addressing. And she said, that's great, you learn from us and we learn from you. And it seemed like it was going really well. She took me on a tour of the facility, which I feel is always a good sign, because if they didn't like you, then they wouldn't waste their time doing that. So I thought it went fantastic. I was really excited. And then I never heard from them. They completely ghosted me. I even emailed a week and a half later to follow up and got 0 response. And that hurts. It really stings, especially when you think that it went so well. If I go to a job interview and I leave thinking, well, that sucked, I'm not getting that job, and then you don't hear from them, it's oh, well, I didn't expect to. But when you really think that you're going to hear from them and really think that you have the job, because I did. I was thinking I got this. They were also hiring for multiple positions, which drastically increases your odds, because you don't have to be the very best out of people that they interview. You have to be just top 5 if they're hiring 5 people. So I thought my odds were really good, and I really thought that I had the job in the bag, and I did not. And it was really hurtful. And as all job rejections go, I have no idea why. I don't know if it had something to do with my blindness or not. If I had to take a guess, I would assume it's because they were concerned about safety. Because in a psychiatric hospital, that is a concern. There are some clients who are violent, and we did talk about that in the interview. And, those concerns aren't unfounded because it was something that I was concerned about too. I was thinking like, how would I handle this? And is this a good idea? Would this be okay? So, I was concerned about it too. I think that we probably could have figured out something. Like I just didn't go on the units where they had clients who were experiencing psychosis, or maybe like I just wouldn't be alone on a unit or something. Like I feel like we could have figured out something. We could have had a conversation, but it's never a conversation. They just never speak to you again. And I think that's what hurts the most. So next I applied for my job, and I also applied for a job at the same agency that's kind of similar to what I do. And they emailed me wanting to interview me for those positions, and also asked if I would be interested in my job's supervisor's position, which I thought was really cool that they were asking me if I was interested in a job that I didn't even apply for, and that was like a step up from the job that I did apply for. Just felt kind of fancy. So I interviewed for all 3 of those positions, and I kind of got to pick which one I wanted more, which is cool because I feel like in the past, I've never really felt like I had choices or I had control. I felt like I was essentially like just trying so hard to get people to want me that it was like I just had to take whatever I could get, and I didn't really get to make choices. So it was kind of cool to be able to pick which one I wanted more. The reason I didn't want my supervisor's position is because it was more like administrative and not client contact. And, I wanted client contact to help people, not to supervise. So that's why I picked my job instead of that. So my interview was through Zoom. And so it was interesting because usually when I go into interviews, I have my cane, so they know I'm blind. But in this instance, that was not the case. And so I had to decide if I was going to disclose or not, because I didn't have to. But ultimately, I did decide to disclose just because I want to be transparent. Honesty is something that is really important to me, and I don't want to be dishonest. I want to be transparent, and I don't ever want to get in a situation where I hide it until I'm hired and then they find out and they don't want me there. And it's not a good work environment because they're not willing to work with me, or they wished they had known so they wouldn't have hired me. I don't ever want to be put in that position. And I know some people choose to disclose until after they get the job, and that's totally your decision. Just for me, I think it's important to me to be honest. I did wait until the end of the interview to tell her, and so I just said, I just want to let you know that I'm visually impaired, but that shouldn't affect my performance in the job at all. I can still, use a computer. I can still communicate with clients just fine. Like I shouldn't even need any accommodations or anything. Which is true because if I'm working from home, everything's on the computer. Like I don't need anything. I just need my JAWS on the computer and I'm good to go. And she seemed fine with it, and then scheduled me for a second interview the very next day to meet with the clinical director. And then at the end of that interview the next day, they offered me the job at the end of the interview. So it was a very quick turnaround, which again, I'm not used to. And it just feels good that they didn't feel like they really needed to debate or spend a long time like thinking if I would be right for the position, or if if they wanted to hire someone with a vision impairment. They just they offered it to me. So that was really nice. So I did feel kind of awkward after disclosing because I got the impression that maybe they didn't understand the severity of my vision impairment, or maybe like I undersold the severity, because I did use the term visually impaired instead of legally blind or blind. And so I think that may give people the impression that I can see more than I can, because like I'm pretty blind. There's really not much vision left here. And because it was over Zoom, I didn't have my cane for them to know like I'm blind enough to need a cane. And so I feel like it just wasn't clear how blind I was. And I felt kind of awkward just thinking like, I don't think they really understand just how blind I actually am. So let me know down in the comments below if you ever feel that way, feel awkward because you did disclose but feel like it didn't come across very clear, or they didn't really understand the severity. I mean, with my job, like it doesn't really matter, because like what I said was true about really not needing very much accommodation at all. I just felt kind of uneasy about it. So let me know your thoughts about this kind of situation and if you ever feel that way. So continuing on, I didn't accept the job on the spot because I did have an interview the next day with another organization, and I wanted to kind of see how that went first. And that one, even though I went pretty far in the interview process, they wanted to schedule me for a third interview to meet the regional manager. So I feel like I was up there. I was close to the end, but I ultimately decided that I wasn't as interested in that job as I was for my job that I ended up accepting. And so I didn't continue on with that process. I told them that I accepted another position and, wanted to be respectful of their time. So again, that was something new to me, to be able to make that choice, to have options and to decide which one I wanted more. So yeah, that was something that was really cool. And that's it. That is the end of my job search. Like I said, pretty quick. Only applied to and interviewed for 3 agencies. Got a job in 11 days. So, even though I did have some challenges, I can't complain. Like I said, I know how fortunate I am to have this job and to have it so quickly, and for it to be something that I'm very passionate about and excited to do. And, I'm really glad that I got my master's degree, because I applied to my master's program when I was at a very low point, and I was in the midst of a very, very long job search process that was really wearing me down, because I was just getting rejection after rejection and felt so defeated and hopeless. And I said, I'm gonna go to graduate school. I'm gonna get my master's. And if I still don't get a job, even after getting a master's degree, at least I will know that I did everything in my power to get a job. And it worked. So yay. So that's about it for this video. I hope you guys liked it. Please share your job search experiences in the comments below. I know for some of you who are having a hard time, it can be helpful just to have support from other people that know what you're going through. But also, if you have had, if you have success stories, share those as well, because that's always great to, for us to see other people in our situation who have succeeded, to kind of, give some hope. So share those in the comments below, and I will see you guys next time.